My name is Eleanor, and I am 28 years old. The sound that finally makes me look up from my screen isn't a cork popping, but the slap of a £50 note hitting my desk. It's Oliver, his face flushed with a mixture of cheap precision and entitlement, a cruel smirk playing on his lips. He leans over me, his voice loud enough for the entire dwindling office to hear, a calculated performance of magnanimity. There, that's for the party fund. Since you clearly can't afford to contribute, I'll cover your share. Don't want anyone to feel left out, do we? Even if they contribute absolutely nothing to the team's morale. His words hang in the air, a public accusation disguised as charity. He thinks he's shaming me. He thinks he's exposing me as poor, or cheap, or both. His Lieutenant Pippa cackles from across the room, a sound like shattering glass. Oh, be nice, Ali. She's not antisocial. She's just deeply committed to her spreadsheets. Some people just don't understand the concept of a team. It's not just about work, it's about the vibe. They see me as this quiet, meek little mouse, a cog in their machine, who should be grateful for the scraps of attention they throw my way. They have no idea that the vibe they've cultivated is a toxic swamp of gossip and stolen credit. And I'm the one who has been secretly draining it for months, documenting every lie, every corner cut, every idea Oliver has presented as his own. I can feel my heart hammering against my ribs, a wild drumbeat of pure adrenaline. This is what they do. This is their pattern. It's level 1 conflict, the slow, grinding erosion of a person's dignity through public disrespect and exclusion. They've been doing it for years, but never this brazenly, never this openly. For a moment, I want to scream. I want to tell them that the reason I don't go for after-work drinks is because my mother is in a care facility 5 miles away, and my salary, the one he mocks, is stretched thin between my rent and her well-being. Want to tell him that the big client win they're celebrating, the very reason for this party, was secured not by his charm, but by the 72 hours I spent rebuilding a corrupted database while he was on a golf trip. But I don't. Instead, a strange, cold calm washes over me. The breaking point isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet, internal shift, a lock clicking into place. I look at the £50 note on my desk, a symbol of his arrogance. I slowly slide it back across the desk towards him, my eyes meeting his for the first time. I don't say a word. My silence is a rejection of his entire world. It says, I see you. I am not afraid of you, and you have no power over me. His smirk falters, confusion clouding his features. He isn't prepared for defiance, only for tears or submission. And in that tense, silent standoff, the main office door swings open. It's Mr. Davies, the managing director, his face an unreadable mask of authority. And the game is about to change. Mr. Davies's presence sucks all the oxygen out of the room. The fight evaporates instantly. Oliver's sneer melts into a polished, welcoming smile, a stunningly fast transformation from bully to golden boy. He's suddenly the picture of professionalism, asking Mr. Davies about his weekend, his voice, smooth as silk. This is his real talent. Not work, not leadership, but performance. He builds his career on the assumption that people in power only see what's on the surface. For 2 years, I believed he was right, that his charm was a kind of magic shield that made him invincible, and my quiet hard work invisible by comparison. I remember the day it all became clear. We were presenting the quarterly projections to the entire leadership team. The night before, I had found a major error in Oliver's calculations, one that would have cost the company thousands. I didn't announce it publicly. I discreetly told him, and we stayed late while I walked him through how to fix it. I thought I had done the right thing, saving the team from embarrassment. I thought, perhaps, I had finally earned a sliver of his respect. I was so naive. I was a lamb trying to make friends with a wolf, not realizing I was already on the menu. The next morning, 10 minutes before the presentation, I opened our shared file to do one last review. My entire sectional, the data visualizations, the trend analysis, everything was gone, just a blank slide with my name on it. A cold panic seized me as Oliver, standing beside me, feigned shock and whispered, "Eleanor, how could you be so careless?" He knew I had no time to fix it. I had to stand before the board and say I wasn't prepared. I saw the look of pity and disappointment from Mr. Davies, and I saw the smug, triumphant glint in Oliver's eye. He didn't just let me fail. He engineered it. He needed to put me back in my box, to punish me for daring to be more competent than him. That was the day the hurt turned into something else, something cold and hard and patient. That night, I went home and didn't cry. Instead, I logged into the system from my laptop and checked the file's version history. And there it was, plain as day. My section, deleted by Oliver. At 7:53 a.m., I took a screenshot. It was the first piece of evidence in a file one now called the Oliver problem. He thought he had buried me under a landslide of humiliation, but he had no idea what I was planting in that dark soil. Mr. Davies smiles, a polite but distant expression, and directs his attention to Oliver. "Oliver, good work on the Mick Corby account. A real win for the team." My heart sinks. It's a punch. To the gut, Oliver's chest puffs out, and he shoots me a triumphant look, a silent, "I told you so." In his mind, this is it, the final confirmation. He hears praise, but I hear a test. I know Mr. Davies is a man who deals in data, not just handshakes, and he has been quietly asking me for performance metrics for weeks. Reports that I know for a fact he never requested from Oliver. Oliver's desperation to land that account wasn't just about ego or the promotion. I discovered the real reason 3 weeks ago, buried in a misfiled expense report. He'd been cooking the books, not in a flashy, criminal way, but in a slow, desperate shuffle. He'd overspent the quarterly budget by nearly 20% on lavish client dinners and team-building events that only his inner circle attended. The Mick Corby signing bonus was the only thing that could plug the hole in his finances before the end-of-year review. His grand victory wasn't a step forward for the company. It was a desperate move to cover his tracks. The deepest blow came from someone I thought was different. Chloe, the junior accountant who had apologized to me in private after the presentation disaster, who always gave me a sympathetic smile in the kitchen. Last week, I saw her slip a folder onto Oliver's desk after everyone else had gone home. He gave her a reassuring nod, and she scurried away. It wasn't just a folder. I recognized the blue tab. It was the preliminary budget reconciliation. She wasn't a silent victim of his bullying. She was an active participant in his cover-up, likely promised a promotion, or just terrified enough of his power to become his accomplice. I learned then that you can't build your hope on the idea of silent allies. People will almost always choose the path that seems safest for them. That's not evil, it's just human. As Oliver continues to soak in the praise, Mr. Davies turns to leave. He pauses at the door. "Excellent work," he repeats, then adds, "Oh, and Oliver, for the big meeting Monday morning, please have the full, detailed budget reconciliation for my desk. I want to dig into the numbers on every project." He says it with a smile, but it's not a request. It's a final exam. And I know, for a fact, Oliver hasn't done the homework. Mr. Davies' demand for the budget hangs in the air all weekend. A ticking clock in my head. I spend Saturday at the care facility, sitting by my mother's bedside, trying to read her favorite book, but the words just blur together. My mind is a storm of spreadsheets and email chains. I'm physically there with her, but my spirit is trapped in that toxic office, strategizing, worrying, second-guessing everything. She stirs, her hand finding mine, her voice a fragile whisper. "You seem so far away, my love. Is everything all right?" Her simple question is a knife to my heart. This job, this fight, is not just killing me. It's stealing the last precious moments I have with my own mother. The weight of it all finally breaks me. I say my goodbyes and walk out to the car. Park, and as soon as the door closes, the facade shatters. I just sit there in the driver's seat, the engine off, and I cry. Not loud, angry sobs, but the silent, hopeless tears of someone who feels utterly and completely alone. I thought about Chloe's betrayal, about Pippa's mocking laughter, about Oliver's smug, triumphant face. They were winning. They had chipped away at my confidence and sabotaged my career, and now their poison was seeping into the only part of my life that truly mattered. For a moment, I think about quitting, just deleting the file of evidence, walking away and letting them have their rotten kingdom. It feels like the easiest path to just surrender. Maybe they were right all along. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. But then I look at the dashboard, at the small, faded photo of my mum from years ago, before she got sick. She's laughing, her eyes full of a fierce, joyful light. I remember what she always told me when I was a kid, being picked on in the playground. "Don't you ever let them make you small, Eleanor. Your integrity is the one thing they can never take from you unless you give it away." Her voice, a memory from a stronger time, cuts through my despair with absolute clarity. My integrity, it's what this whole fight is about. I wipe my tears, my hands shaking but my fingers determined. This isn't just about my job anymore. It's about not letting people like Oliver turn the world into a place where decency and hard work count for nothing. My quietness is not a weakness. My refusal to play their games is not a flaw. It is my strength. I pull out my phone, my resolve hardening into steel. I scroll through my contacts, past all the names who would tell me to just keep my head down. I stop on one I haven't called in years, a friend from university who became a journalist. I press the button, my heart pounding a new rhythm of purpose, of war. "Hi," I say when she answers. "I know it's been a while, but I need your help. I have a story for you." My friend Anya listened patiently on the phone, the way a good journalist does. When I finished, her response wasn't the battle cry I had hoped for. It was cautious, professional. She told me my story was powerful, but that corporate takes are messy. She needed more than my word and a few screenshots. She needed a smoking gun, something undeniable, something that couldn't be dismissed as a disgruntled employee's revenge. I promised her I'd have a full package of evidence, ready by Monday morning. I spent the rest of the weekend in a feverish haze, compiling every email, every altered file, every suspicious expense report into a single, damning timeline. On Sunday night, just as I was finishing, an email notification popped up on my screen. The sender was Mr. Davies. My blood ran cold. My first thought was that he had somehow found out that I was being fired before I even had a chance to fight. There was no subject line. The body of the email contained only a single sentence. "Eleanor, I think you'll find this useful for tomorrow's meeting." Below, it was a password-protected zip file. My hand trembled as I hovered the mouse over it. A second sentence appeared below the first. "The password is integrity." My heart hammered against my ribs as I typed the word. The file unzipped, revealing its contents. The first thing I saw was a screen recording, dated from the morning of my disastrous presentation. It showed a user, clearly logged in as Oliver, dragging my completed slides into the trash folder. He had it. He had proof. But there was more. The folder also contained a confidential, 30-page report from an independent auditor It detailed every pound Oliver had misspent, every fraudulent expense claim, every lie he'd told to cover the budget shortfall. Mr. Davies hadn't just been suspicious. He had launched a full-scale covert investigation weeks ago. I leaned back, in my chair, breathless, the entire chessboard rearranging itself in my mind. I thought I was a lone soldier, gathering pebbles for a slingshot. I had no idea the king had already positioned his cannons. The praise Mr. Davies gave Oliver, the demand for the budget reconciliation, it wasn't a test. It was a trap. He was handing Oliver the rope and giving him the weekend to tie his own noose. The Monday meeting wasn't going to be a simple presentation. It was going to be an execution. And Mr. Davies had just handed me the axe. Walking into the office on Monday morning feels like stepping onto a stage. I am no longer a background character. I move with a purpose they have never seen before, my steps quiet but firm. I'm holding a simple, thin folder. Oliver is already there peacocking by the coffee machine with Pippa, holding a thick, leather-bound binder overflowing with his fabricated budget reports. He sees me and smirks. "Eleanor, so glad you could make it. We all missed your unique energy at the party this weekend. You know, fun. It's a thing." He expects a flinch, a quiet retreat. He gets a calm, level stare and 2 simple words. "I know." The confidence in my voice throws him off, but he recovers as we all file into the boardroom. He takes his seat at the head of the table, opposite Mr. Davies, the conquering hero ready for his coronation. Chloe won't look at anyone, her face pale, her hands trembling in her lap. Mr. Davies begins, his voice calm and serious. He talks about the future of the department, about a new era of leadership. The person who takes this new role, he says, his eyes sweeping the room, must embody the core principles of this company: absolute integrity, unwavering accountability, and a commitment to the truth. Mr. Davies then turns to Oliver with a polite smile. "Oliver, why don't you start by walking us through the quarterly budget?" This is it. Oliver opens his binder with a flourish, launching into a presentation filled with corporate buzzwords and self-congratulation, his voice booming with false confidence. He believes this is his victory speech. He speaks for exactly 2 minutes before Mr. Davies holds up a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "Thank you, Oliver. Very ... optimistic. As it happens, I asked Eleanor to also review the financials to get a second perspective. Eleanor." Every head in the room swivels towards me. Oliver's confident smile tightens into a line of confusion. I stand, open my thin folder, and place a single piece of paper on the table. "Thank you, Mr. Davies. I just have a few points of clarification," I begin, my voice even and clear. "Oliver, I was having trouble reconciling the vendor payments for the 3rd quarter. Specifically, can you explain why the invoice from Corporate Retreat Solutions for a ski trip in Switzerland was logged under the budget code for client acquisition and on-site support?" The trapdoor swings open. His face drains of all color. The reckoning has begun. The silence in the room is a physical thing, heavy and suffocating. Oliver stares at me, his mind racing for a lie big enough to cover the hole I've just blown. In his story, that was a strategic offsite. He finally stammers, his voice losing its confident edge. It was critical for team synergy before the final client push. An unconventional, but necessary, leadership decision. He's grasping at straws, throwing corporate jargon at a fire I started with cold, hard facts. He thinks he can still talk his way out of it. He doesn't realize the exits have been sealed. Before he can build any momentum, I move to the next point, my voice unwavering. And on the topic of leadership decisions, I say, nodding to Mr. Davies. On the large screen at the front of the room, a video begins to play. It's the screen recording. Everyone watches in stunned silence as the cursor, controlled by a user named Oliver, drags my presentation into the trash can. A sharp gasp comes from Pippa. Oliver's face turns a blotchy, furious red. This is absurd. She faked that. She's been plotting to frame me, to steal my promotion. He yells, his voice cracking, pointing a shaking finger at me. The role reversal is complete. I am the calm one, presenting evidence. He is the emotional, frantic one, making wild accusations. He built his power by making others feel small and unstable. And now his own instability is on full display for everyone to see. Mr. Davies doesn't even look at him. His gaze shifts to the palest person in the room. "Chloe," he says, his voice gentle but firm. "You co-signed these budget reports. I need you to tell me if you stand by their accuracy." This is her moment, her choice. Sink with Oliver's ship, or swim for shore. Tears well in her eyes as she looks from Oliver's furious face to my neutral one. "No," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "They're not accurate. He told me to hide the overspending. He said if I didn't, he'd make sure I was first on the list for redundancy when he got promoted. I'm so sorry." The confession hangs in the air, the final nail in Oliver's corporate coffin. Mr. Davies nods slowly. "Thank you, Chloe." His gaze snaps back to Oliver, cold as ice. "Oliver, your employment is terminated, effective immediately. Please pack your personal belongings. Security will escort you out." As he's led away, a defeated shell of a man, his hateful eyes lock on mine. He still thinks I did this to him, never once understanding that he was the author of his own ruin. So here is the lesson they never teach you in business school. The loudest person in the room is usually the most fragile. Oliver didn't try to destroy me because he was strong and I was weak. He did it because my quiet competence was a mirror that showed him all of his own fraudulent emptiness. People like him don't build things. They just conquer and claim territory. They create a culture of fear because it's the only way they can command respect. They mistake kindness for weakness and integrity for a lack of ambition. But in the end, a foundation built on lies is just that, a foundation of lies, destined to crumble under the slightest pressure of truth. In the 6 months since that meeting, the dust has settled. Oliver wasn't just fired. The official audit meant he was professionally blacklisted. No respectable firm would touch him. The last I heard, he was selling enterprise software for a small startup. His kingdom shrunk to a cubicle and a commission-only salary. Pippa, without Oliver to protect her, was lost. I put her on a strict performance plan. I didn't bully her. I simply demanded the work. She had a choice, adapt or leave. She adapted. She's still here, but the sneer is gone, replaced by a quiet professionalism. She learned the hard way that your career is only as stable as the character of the person you attach yourself to. As for Chloe, I saw her fear, her panicked regret. I remembered my own helplessness. I gave her a second chance. I told her that trust wasn't a gift, but something she would have to earn back every single day, and she did. She became the most meticulous, hard-working, and loyal person on my team. She learned that courage wasn't about never being afraid, but about doing the right thing even when you are. As the new department head, I made a new rule. We promote based on merit, not volume. We listen to the quiet voices. We value the work, not just the presentation of the work. So when you look around your own life, don't be fooled by the noise. The most impressive people are often not the ones demanding your attention, but the ones quietly earning your respect. Don't ever underestimate the person in the corner who just puts their head down and does the work. They aren't antisocial. They aren't disengaged. They are observing, they are learning, and very often they are building the case. True power isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the one who knows all the facts.